Now to go with this, while this is cooking, I'm going to fix us some cabbage. So I've already, let me turn my pot on. That's also important. You're going to start browning your bacon. I used to never eat cabbage, but since I learned how to cook it like this, I love it. I'm going to brown this real good. Then, of course, I'm going to round it all together with my cabbage. I've already cut some cabbage up. Just throw all this in here. Okay. Now, let me show you how to cut this up, because some people chop it too fine and it cooks down to nothing. So this is how I chop this. Now, one thing about this dish, I like to cook it down and brown my cabbage and my bacon real brown and cook it down. But of course, some people don't like it cooked that way. They like it crispy. So it's up to you. I know when my daughter Melissa comes home, I always, let me turn my fire down a little bit. Okay. I always cook it just crispy for her, because actually that's how she likes it, and she doesn't come home that much. So now I'm going to let all this cook down. I'm going to brown it all together, and I'm going to put salt and pepper on top of it and stir it up real good. I'll see how crab stew's cooking. Let me stir in here just one more time. Very good. Oh, this is gorgeous. Yeah, boy, we're going to have a good meal today. All to the, oh, now this is really, you can hear it sizzling. It's going to brown the bacon. I'm going to let it cook down, and then I'll be able to serve it as soon as it's cooked, because you don't want this to get cold. So we've got everything cooking. We just got to wait until the crabs are done, which won't take long. Now I've promised you that we would learn more about Louisiana blue crabs and how soft-shell crabs are produced. Let's take a look at it. This reminds me of the early morning sunrise when I was a girl and went crabbing in Cameron, Louisiana. The whole family would sit along the bank with our baited nets and waited for the crabs to show up. It was a time for family members to relate to each other as we worked together to catch our dinner, something we've lost in our busy lives today. This crab fisherman uses a method that seems much faster and easier, but with the same results. Beautiful blue Louisiana crabs. Look at those claws. Beneath this grand oak tree, I'm visiting with Mr. Cultus Pearson. He's one of the grandfathers of the soft-shell crab industry. Let's find out why.
When that crab is getting up close to maturity, especially the male crab, it may be 9 to 10 months between the molts. But let's take when he first starts off in an egg, they might both molt every 3 or 4 days, and it progressively gets slower as they get a little bit larger.
The larger they get, the less.
The longer span it is.
This is normal crabs that you bring in, right?
The crabs that you're going to shed and make soft shell crabs out of, they call them peelers.
Oh, right, okay.
And the peelers start off with what they call a white line peeler, and that peeler is somewhere from 3 days up to about 10 or 12 days from molting.
All right.
And the red line peelers are the ones that's going to molt within 3 days. The main thing is to be able to separate those crabs so that they can shed with one another and not be eaten. And the way I work it in my system, the white lines, I put them upstairs. The red lines, I put them downstairs. Right. Then every second or third day, depending on the temperature of the water, I go through those crabs that's in the upstairs part, and the ones that have advanced to the red line, they go in the bottom trays, and they won't eat one another down there. And the reason that I proceeded to develop the system is that I was shedding my soft-shell crabs on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. So I started looking for some way to shed those crabs up here. And I started off by picking up the ones that was going to shed in the early part of the night, the ones that already cracked open. But then after a while, the crabs started dying. And I thought that maybe if you kept the water filtered and real clear, everything would be all right, but it wasn't. The culprit is nitrite. Then I got in touch with Miss Harriet Perry over at Gulf Coast Research Lab in Mississippi, and she gave me the principles of how biological filters work. Between her and I, we designed a system where we could purify our water, and I could bring all my crabs from the lake up here.
People are eating more soft-shell crabs now due to the availability in restaurants because of crab shedding operations like Mr. Pearson's. They're easier to eat than the hard-shell crabs because the shell is edible and you don't have to pick the meat. And these luscious creatures are delicious any way you prepare them. Didn't those soft-shell crabs look great? They tasted good too. They were delicious. I know I ate them.